ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We'd appreciate the love. And shout out to Bumblefoot for that awesome intro music. I always appreciate that. You guys, please follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and I have a kick-ass YouTube channel. That's the Cryptid Huntress. And if you guys haven't subscribed over on my YouTube channel yet, please do. I have really cool shows every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. I got something for you. So y'all come over there and hang out with me. And also, I have a great Patreon if you guys would like to support my work that I'm doing. And it coincides with my remote viewing show that I do every Thursday night. I put all of my remote viewing data over there on that Patreon. And so, yeah, it's the Cryptid Huntress over there. And also, I have a shop. That is War Woman Goods over on Etsy. And you can click the shop link on my website as well. Also, we have a new Patreon here at Spaced Out Radio. I believe it's called the Space Travelers Club. And you guys go become a member of that, and you get all sorts of perks. I'm not exactly sure what all they are yet, but I'm sure I'm going to find out pretty soon. I need to look into that. I'll do that before tomorrow night's show. Okay. But y'all go over there and become a member of that as well. Okay, y'all. I have a fantastic guest here tonight, as usual. I have my friend Arkheim Ra here in studio. Don't forget that right after this show, we have a super special after hours coming up for you guys. They have a really great program, and check that out as soon as the show is over. Just go over to after hours, okay? All right. So let's get to our guest tonight. Yeah, if you guys can't tell, I'm a little tired today. I've been out in the field with my team. I was doing some research last night, all yesterday and all today, and just got home a little while ago, just in time to shower for my show. Okay, so yeah, and speaking of being in the field, my guest tonight, Arkheim Ra, I met him, actually I met him at the Journey to Truth conference in Illinois back in May, and we just took a trip together with a bunch of people up to New York to Montauk, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And so let me give him a formal introduction. Arkheim Ra is a starseed who is targeted for a super soldier espionage mind control program in U.S. public schools' talented and gifted program. He served at Montauk under Project Phoenix and has several alters which engaged with time travel and alternate reality programs in what he believes may have been a swap alternate reality. Arkheim's alters have also worked with Nacht Waffen, Mars Defense Force, Solar Warden, Lunar Command, and more. And let me tell you, he has some of the most awesome stories and experiences, and I have learned so much from Arkheim. So please help me welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight, my buddy, Arkheim.
Thank you. That's such a great welcome. Wow. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. You deserve it. Like you honestly are like one of my favorite people. Okay. And I got to hang out with you. Seriously, we hung out for a whole week in Montauk recently with a group of people, and I know we met briefly at the Journey to Truth conference. I think we had sat at a table at lunch one day.
Barry Littleton,
right?
I got to meet you and Barry Littleton at the same time. What a rush! Those are conversations at that table.
Man, I tell you, I mean, we always have really cool conversations, and even riding back to the airport when we were leaving Montauk. I mean, you and Brian and I, our friend Brian Singh, we had a great time. And and speaking of riding, you are actually starting a new phase in your life, and you've been on the road. So thank you so much for taking time out tonight to come on Spaced Out Radio with me, because I know like you're on a big journey right now, right?
Yeah, I'm traveling across the country to Nevada to get out of my hometown, which has a heavy like MK Ultra sort of like presence there. So yeah, it's kind of the point where like my hometown kind of creeps me out. So yeah, I'm really glad that I'm gonna be like really, really far away from there. The only thing that sucks is like I love my parents and stuff and my family. But yeah, just fresh air in the desert, clean, fresh start. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm so excited for you, and I know it can be a lot picking up and moving, and I just went through that myself not too long ago. So
yeah, it's been wild. It's been wild, especially because we're taking 2 vehicles, and then we have our cats and 2 guinea pigs and stuff. So it's like extra much of a struggle because of that. But yeah, it's
oh my gosh,
worth it though.
I didn't know about the guinea pigs.
Yeah, we've got 2 guinea pigs with us. They've been rolling with us the whole time, and they've been really good. They've been troopers.
That is so cool. That's so cool. Well, I know you've experienced so much so many interesting things during your lifetime, and some of that, I mentioned you and I were in Montauk, at, I guess we went to Camp Hero, and we spent time. We were just on Long Island. We were all over Montauk for the most part, and you have a connection to Montauk. And of course, we were there for that portal opening that day. I guess it was on Saturday. We were going to wait for that portal opening to see if the USS Eldridge was going to reappear. And that was an adventure in itself right there. Cool stuff. But we were also there to do a little bit of healing and for you guys to get back there. And I knew that was going to be kind of difficult for you and many of those people that were there that had experienced, I guess, like a lot of trauma and things that had happened to you guys at Montauk.
It was hell.
At Camp Hero. Yeah, I can't even imagine. But yeah, are you comfortable with talking a little bit about that tonight and how you're associated with it?
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things that I've been realizing is like I'm always really honest with people. Like my memories are pretty fragmented and all over the place, but there's some and then a lot of my information that I get to is from talking to other people that remember me, and we remember different bits and pieces that help us get more of a clear picture. But essentially what I believe with the research that I've done is that I like not a human, obviously a starseed, like not a human being, like this is like a new thing for me to be a human being. And I believe that they brought me into this world and into a human body through a satanic ritual. And I found the evidence for that really hardcore for a woman that was my wife at one point at Montauk, which is kind of a really long story. It's not very abnormal, very freak situation for Montauk for that to be allowed to happen, but it did. But yeah, her whole family is connected to, like, I did an interview with her on my channel. It was with her mother. It's Maria B on my Disclosure Now with an exclamation point YouTube channel. But yeah, she talked about how it was pretty obvious to me when she connected all the dots that she had connections to her whole family had connections to Satanism, Masonry, Catholicism, Scientology, and what I've kind of realized with the whole Montauk thing is like all those things are connected to Montauk. Freemasonry, the Knights of Templar, Aleister Crowley. There's just so many dots that haven't been connected yet by any Montauk whistleblowers, and so I feel like that's like my job is pioneering like a lot of the truth behind like the satanic aspect to what Montauk is, and what that all even actually means. Which, to be honest, I'm learning more and more about that every day, because it seems to me that like Baphomet is just a shape-shifting reptilian, and I'm not saying that with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty damn sure. And that's how it is with a lot of these entities, and it's, they're tricksters. A lot of these entities that we're dealing with that are manipulating people, putting them in these programs, doing stuff, they're tricksters. So it's always a struggle to get the full picture of the truth. But I'm just taking what I remember, the experiences that I've had, what I know, and I'm finding other Montauk survivors, and we're trying to really highlight the fact that this isn't some sort of hypothetical story that happened. It really did happen. And there deserves to be a memorial. There deserves to be public recognition by the U.S. Air Force they need to apologize for what they did. They need, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of healing that still needs to happen. I think that's just us going to Montauk and, hey, honey, you turn the lights off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize
it's okay.
There's a blackout. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We're back.
Anyway.
It's okay.
Yeah, for me, it's like there's a lot I know and I have a lot of answers, but I still have a lot of questions too, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's still a lot of things I'm trying to figure out. And that's why I'm public more than anything, is I feel like we, like the people, the public, like people that have experienced this or people that even haven't and just have heard things here or there, whatever, it's our responsibility to create disclosure and push this forward, because obviously our government isn't doing a very good job of that. Even with like the David Grush thing, like that's wonderful. I think that's great, and I commend David Grush for coming forward with his testimony and all the others who have. But that's like Area 51. That's like excuse me, not Area 51. That's like Roswell flying saucer crash. That happened in the 50s, and we already, or maybe it was before that. I don't have the exact date, but that happened so long ago. And
Yeah, exactly.
a guy going on TV saying the same exact thing that they said 60 years ago, and all the nuts and bolt UFO people are like, oh great, all right, oh it's coming, and it's like, for me, it's like we haven't even gotten to the tip of the iceberg. We're already out there in space. We already have colonies. We got time travel projects. It gets wild when you look into it. It can make you kind of uncomfortable once you find out the truth, and I think that's why a lot of people don't look into it.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job of putting information out there, and I thought it was kind of funny and a little weird when they were showing the little aliens, and kudos for people wanting to do have full disclosure on stuff, but they were showing us those little aliens out of Mexico, those alleged little aliens at that conference a couple weeks ago at that hearing, and it's like, why don't they just show us the bodies from Roswell, the Roswell crashes and stuff? Like, it's got to be 1,000-year-old mummified little potentially aliens, and it's almost like we're just getting these breadcrumbs over and over again, and it's not getting us anywhere. So it's taking people like yourself talking about the SSP, the MK Ultra, myself talking about cryptids and whatever I've experienced in the UFO community, all the different people in all the different communities, us being the disclosure. And that's how you and I became friends. Okay, was through doing this.
I think an important thing for me to bring up is like how common this is, and that's like why we're doing this. Why you have your YouTube channel and I have mine, is like, this is happening to a lot of people. Like, I'm traveling across the country, and I picked up a hitchhiker, and this Hawaiian dude that's hitchhiking across the country and stuff. And I'm telling him about, so what he's like, so what are you doing? I tell him my YouTube channel and all that, and what happened to me. And he told me about how he got taken out of school at one point by men in black. And then after that, he doesn't remember 6 months of his life. And it was like, for him, it was like the next day he tried to go to 6th grade, and they're like, dude, you're in 7th grade now. Why you're in the wrong classroom? So he literally lost 6 months of his life. And I think he obviously was put into like some sort of secret space program or something. But that's kind of what I'm trying to blow the whistle on, is like the talented and gifted program. That's where it all started for me, is because I remember being in the talented and gifted program in 2nd grade. I remember like going into the class, like watching like Bill Nye the Science Guy and videos and stuff, and just like, and taking little pamphlets. And it was like, they called me down to that room every day, and we went there and we hung out, and it was the talented and gifted class. I even remember the kids that were in the class. And I remember that when I went to 3rd grade, I was asking the teacher, why am I not in the talented and gifted program anymore? Like, what's up with that? And she's like, I don't know. I'm not, I wasn't your 2nd grade teacher, so I couldn't tell you that. And the other kids that were in TAG were telling me that I never had been in talented and gifted. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, they thought I was crazy and I was making it up. And I was like, no, I was in the talented and gifted program. So they gave me screen memories, cover memories of going in this classroom, hanging out with these guys. I remember one of the memories was going to a museum, which I know Corey Good like has flipped the script and he really sucks now. But I remember he talked about that. And I think that's probably common for them to take you out and then give you that false memory. And I even remember that. I remember like coming home from like school from like when they did a bunch of stuff to me and just feeling really messed up. And just being like, I wasn't at a museum, but I was at a museum. And I'm like a little kid. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to just accept that I went to a museum. And yeah, eventually I figured out, obviously, like I looked into these memories and the fact that, okay, that anomaly, like that's real. Like I could contact these people. I'm too scared to be honest with you, but I could contact these kids that, on Facebook or whatever and ask them, do you remember that? I was never in talented and gifted. And I'm sure they'll tell me, yeah, you weren't in talented and gifted with us. Why would I remember that? Why would I think that I was in? And what I'm finding is like, this is it's not just me that this is happening to. I was also cleaning a school. I was a janitor at a school recently in the town that I, got inducted in. And I saw firsthand that they're programming those kids at that school, and that they had an elevator that would go down to the underground facility. I think I'm going up to the next floor with all my janitor stuff. They'd grab me and they'd take me, and I worked for, I was training the kids at the school, and it wasn't just the kids that, because I remember there were kids that I would see them when I was a janitor, but I remember like it was through generations. Like all they had to do is take me like once, twice. I don't know. The memories aren't like perfectly clear, obviously, but I do remember that I was being taken from the school. And yeah, I just think that it's wild. Like people really need to look into this and see that it's real. Like there are these programs in public schools where they're taking kids out and they're putting them in super soldier programs through this advanced technology to where they can take you for 20 years or more and then put you back and you don't even realize that it happened. People can't wrap their mind around that fact that technology exists. So that's why these groups continue to do this. And what blows my mind is people ask, like, why would they do this? Why would they go through all these resources to kidnap kids and and kidnap people for the secret space programs? And it's like, what has been the number one biggest problem for all of human history other than war itself? Slavery. It's always been our number one Achilles heel, our number one problem. We enslave each other. You could even argue that the capitalistic system that we all live under is a form of complicated, fancy pyramid scheme slavery, right? And it's just like, yeah, I'm kind of going on a rant. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's true. I mean, we have a terrible trafficking problem in our country and all over the world. And and part of what I do with my team, we're out there, we're a Bigfoot field research team, but we're dealing with people that are going missing in all these national parks. And so I think that that's connected to some of this, with some of the missing people. There's so many missing people, and people think, well, maybe the cryptids are responsible for some of this. But I think it's just as sinister with having people taking children and adults to be a part of these programs like you were a part of.
Yeah, it's definitely the national forests. I've learned a lot about the national forests recently through you and through some of the Journey to Truth, the people that they've interviewed and stuff like that, and also my own experiences, because I love camping at the national parks. And there's something going on there paranormal, where I feel like there are probably some people that are slipping into alternate dimensions and things like that. But I also do remember some of those faces from those 411 missing. There's a guy that does, he writes books on it, and I think he had like a
David Politis.
Yeah. Some of those kids, I got very triggered when I was watching that show with my friend, because I remembered them. And
really?
Those were kids that sometimes when they try to program us and do all this stuff, it doesn't necessarily work. And I guess there's times where I don't understand why they wouldn't put them back if it didn't work. Like, why couldn't they just turn back time? I don't know, but they would break these kids. They become catatonic, and so they wouldn't be able to put them back. So they just be like, all right, well then we're not going to put them back, because their consciousness was fucked. Like, you can fix a body. You can fix even like neurological defects and stuff like that in a brain with these technology that they have with med beds and stuff. But when somebody becomes psychologically damaged, that's a way more complicated process, that you can't just hook up someone's brain to a computer and press some buttons and then they're fixed. It doesn't work that way. You have to go through like therapy, you know what I mean? And yeah, so there is a let's put it this way, the human trafficking problem when it comes to the cloning thing, the fact that there are cloning facilities and that they can take your consciousness remotely,
yes,
that is huge. It's a huge problem. I get taken to this white facility all the time. There's this like mad scientist guy doing all sorts of crazy shit. I feel like I got taken the other night when I was in somewhere in Colorado. I feel like I got taken, and I remember he was doing an experiment on this guy. He didn't have a head. His face was on his chest. And I remember just thinking, like, why are you even doing this? Like, and the memories are always disjointed. They're not very good. I'm not supposed to remember at all. Most people don't remember anything. But I remembered that, and yeah, I just remember I get taken to this white facility, and there's more than one that I get taken to, and there's a bunch of them. There's cloning facilities, and they're doing experiments like you talk about with the cryptids and making like Spider-Man and Goat Men and just all sorts of. It's like some of the stuff. It's like, why are you even doing this? But the problem is huge, and like one of the things that I am trying to blow the whistle on too, like is like the Donald Marshall aspect of it, where they're using it for sex trafficking, where like Britney Spears is a favorite when it comes to this. She's a Barbie model sex slave, and she's been programmed to be a sex kitten. And they use her over and over again, and elite people, rich people, will pay a lot of money to be with her. And not only that, she can be in a clone body where she's like a teenage girl, and that's the whole idea with Britney Spears, and that was the whole six cells thing with her that they did. But and then there's so much more to it than that, where like, yeah, they can snatch anybody and they'll wake up down there, and all you need to do is just catch their attention and have something that they want, and then you can end up getting messed with by these people. And it's just happening on such a rate. It's at such an epic scale. I just think people would be really terrified if they realized that. And I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people don't even look into it. Like, for instance, for me, like I remember like 3 years ago, my brother like telling me about adrenochrome and stuff like that, and like basically the satanic cabal, stuff like that. And I was like, Mike, that's all conspiracy theories, da 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 da. And looking back, I can tell you, I can confirm that was me not wanting to accept the truth, because there was so much came with that. So much more came with that. Like, you want to believe, no, we live in a world that's like nice, and like, sure, there's fucked up stuff happening, but the stuff that we know about on the surface is bad enough. There can't be more than that, right? You know what I mean? But there is.
Oh, yeah. But wait, there's more. It gets worse. And, and I think that there's like a slow rollout, and I'm going to say slow rollout. But that this has been around for a long time. I think cloning has been around for a very long time, like since, when history first began to be written, I guess. I don't know. It's probably before that. But
I believe.
Yeah,
I believe that
absolutely.
And they figured out genetic manipulation, and we're literally the product of that, and we're literally clones that they made that could reproduce. And that's actually written. That's written that the gods, they made these like slaves, basically these beings, and then one of them decided, I can't remember which one, but this is well known. Like, a lot of people in the community talk about this. One of them decided, okay, one of them made it so they could mate and have children, and the rest of them were like, why'd you do that? You know what I mean? And here we are. But yeah, we're a product of these. We're basically like a slave species that broke free and claimed its own sovereignty, and still to this day we are fighting to claim that sovereignty, and we're being manipulated, messed with beyond belief by the all these different AT and stuff, and it's a mess.
It is a mess. And okay, so I actually was in contact with this guy. His name is like Rampage on TikTok. Okay. And he is the guy who saw his face on a robot at the Chargers game, at that football game. There was like some robots that they had kind of paraded out for this movie that's coming out. And he was just watching it. He was like, oh, I heard there were some robots at this game. And he turned the TV on, and it was his face on a robot. And it freaked him out. And so I was thinking like that, this is probably like a slow rollout. I mean, they're showing us clones, they're putting it in our faces with like the celebrities that are cloned, and even like Eminem when he was rapping about that Slim Shady at the MTV Music Awards, and all those guys came out dressed like him and looking like him. They're just letting us know that's what's going on, in my opinion. But firsthand, like you have more inside stuff than I do, for sure.
Yeah, not that you're very knowledgeable and you do a lot of research, so you might know a lot more than me, actually, because of that.
Probably
it's just
not.
So you look into it so much, but I do have a lot of firsthand experience, like with this stuff. And like one thing like I had happen to me is it's a whole backstory. I won't get into it because it'll take too long, but there was a certain group that was like upset with me and they wanted me to behave in a certain way. So they kidnapped me in my sleep, and they brought me to this cloning facility, and there are all these rooms, or there's this room, and on each side there are all these clones, and those people I knew that I cared about. And this Paul White basically explained to me that he can activate these people whenever he wants, and he can either let me spend time with them or like strap me to a chair and force me to watch them get tortured. And he just Yes, and dude, I lived on Centurion 5 when we first were and I have like a whole video on that on James Ring's channel if people want to watch that.
Super Soldier Talk. Yeah, Super Soldier Talk, guys.
I have a whole video on just Centurion 5. But basically, when I first got there, we were colonizing. We worked our way up to these giant, like futuristic, technocratic megatropolises. But we started literally with like tents and worked our way up to cabins and stuff like that. And we didn't have med beds. We didn't have. They literally, it was kind of organic the way we started. They put us down there with spaceships and stuff like that. But then they kind of hands off. And there's a group outside of time kind of checking on things. They portal in every once in a while, make sure things are going to plan. But anyway, my son died in a river accident. We were fly fishing, and he got swept up in the river, and he drowned. Well, anyway, that was the last time I ever saw him, and this tall white had his consciousness, and he had, his DNA, so he was able to wake him up, and he's like, "Daddy, where am I?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine." I'm talking to this man. And then he's like, "Why are you telling your son he's going to be okay? He's not okay. We're going to torture him in front of you."
Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
Yeah. And they're just trying to warn me, because one of my altars they're going to activate one of my altars to do something, or he already was activated to do something. They knew about it. They found out about it. And, they're just warning me. It was like one of my altars that works for Nacht Waffen. His name's Jeffrey. He was going to New Atlantis with his family. And it was like, "Oh, I'm just going on vacation to New Atlantis with my family." But the reality was he was going there to take what the tall white told me. And he told me that I was going there to take some golden disc from some museum, and that they knew that I was going to do that. And he was basically like, "Do not even fucking try. We warned you. Do not even, we know what you're up to. Like, you're not on vacation with your fucking family. We know what you're doing. Don't even try." And so that was the warning. And that's the kind of stuff that's the level they are. And they in these programs, they don't need to pay people, and that's how they motivate them to do their job. Because yeah,
that's horrible.
It is.
Yeah, horrible. That's horrible. Can you just to kind of backtrack?
Dark. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Okay. What I'm gonna do is just I could do to kind of backtrack a little bit so that my audience can understand it a little more. And I'm sure most of my audience already understands what the altars are. Can you kind of explain what altars are? Because it has to do with the MK Ultra mind control programming. And and I, like myself, I didn't really know what altars were until I met you and talked to you and James and some of the other guys that are in the program.
So basically, it's an actual, like, clinically diagnosable disorder. It's called, they used to call it multiple personality disorder. Now they're calling it dissociative identity disorder. But essentially what it is when a person experiences like a really intense trauma in their life, that they can't handle psychologically, they won't be able to function if they remember it. You will literally create a pocket personality that will deal with those experiences for you, so you don't have to experience that, so that you can survive. It's like a built-in human survival mechanism that it's probably part of the reason why we've got, it's probably one of our strengths, but also it's like been exposed as a weakness, and they abuse the hell out of that. And but yeah, they basically, like, when I was a child, they tortured me, and a lot of times sexually too, to create altars. And then those altars, they program them to be certain ways and do certain things. Another aspect of this that very few people talk about, that I only recently started talking about, is part of it is a ancient Luciferian ritual where they're trying to pull versions of you from alternate realities. So they literally have a method where when they create altars, sometimes they literally will create a pocket personality inside you that is the copy, I guess you could say, of a version of you from an alternate reality. Because the whole multiple universes thing is 100% real. There's countless timelines interacting with each other and branching out and stuff like that all the time, and collapsing into each other and yada yada. And that's why we have the Mandela effect and things like that. But yeah, altars are basically just, and then so once they create these altars, right, they can activate them through codes and tones. And so, like, when I was at Montauk, the way that they would do it, and they still do it when they take me too, they'll put me in a chair in a room with speakers, and the speakers will play these certain tones, and a lot of times too, they'll read off like list of numbers and stuff like that, and it'll literally be like, like Dorothy. It's Wizard of Oz stuff a lot of the times, like stuff in it, but it'll be like Dorothy needs to go home. epsilon 98669 B 9938 B, and then they'll be like, repeat that back to me, and then like you repeat it back to them, and yeah, but it's like they or they'll tell you repeat. They'll give you a piece of paper and say repeat this over and over again, and it's like something like that, and they just tell you say it over and over again until it works, and then you'll turn into that altar, and it's like when it happens, you're the version of you that you are now goes into the back of your mind, and that version of you comes to the front, and it disorients you, and it makes you like sick, and you'll usually sometimes you'll fall over, you'll collapse, and you usually puke, you usually vomit from it, and yeah, and that's how it works.
Wow, you explained that very eloquently, and yeah, I mean, I understand what it is, but thank you for explaining that to me, because I know that I'm sure there are people in the audience that have questions as well. So, wow, that's really terrifying.
A really cool movie to watch that kind of shows that activation code thing is American Ultra. I don't know if you ever heard of that movie.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's at the gas station. She's like reading off the code. She's like saying the code to him. He's like, "What does that mean? What, do you want your sandwich or whatever?" Like, I don't know what that is, lady. Like, yeah. They showed that kind of in that movie, and that is kind of that is really how it is. But they call it neuro-linguistic programming. So like one thing that I noticed is like when you're at a club, you know how like there's the lights going on, and then there's the music, and then you're getting intoxicated as well. They love to take you when you drink. I noticed that on nights where I drink, they love to take me because I'm probably really docile and easy to take, right? Think about it. Yeah, but I think that like sometimes like people will be at like the club or whatever, and these people, if you've ever watched the Aaron and Tyler talk about it all the time on their show, the Adjustment Bureau. That's like real. Also mix that with They Clone Tyrone. Like it's kind of like they are listening to our lives from an underground facility. And that movie was portrayed in the past. Now it's even crazier. They're tracking everything you look at on your computer, everywhere you go. They're listening to your conversation. You got a microphone and a camera in your pocket, and they're able to manipulate you. And like, so like if you go to the club and they want to activate you to do some certain thing, because sometimes they'll get us to do stuff in the here and now, like in our normal lives. So you're out at the club, you're hanging out, you're having some drinks, and you get in, the music's pounding, the lights are going, and you hear some phrase in some song, like, and it could be just something stupid that might not be anything related, but they're saying it over and over again, like I get that money or whatever, something stupid in a song they're repeating over and over again. And in certain people, it'll program them and act like they can create the certain conditions to where they can activate them remotely without anybody around them noticing that that's what happened. And so,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways for them to activate these altars and turn them on. And different groups do it in different ways. I know that certain groups say you should do it this way, and other groups say you're wrong and you should do it this way. But like, yeah, it's not like, I think that's one thing that like the ufology, like paranormal community does, like in general, is like we always like to like overly broad make everything like, oh, why isn't it all the same? Like for instance, like, yeah, I saw what it was like a gray or alien, but it wasn't wearing a blue suit like that other guy I saw. It was wearing a red one. So obviously like that guy's wrong. And it's like, what makes you think that they all wear the same clothes every day? Do you wear the same clothes? You know, people like always like overly like simplify things. And what people need to understand is these programs are complicated. There's more than one. They do it in different ways. And another thing that's really wild with these programs too is the fact that like when someone's in them, like, okay, like I got taken for Montauk, like it's like in the intro, like I got taken for Solar Warden, I got taken for Lunar Command, I got taken for Mars. They tend to really overuse the crap out of it. Once they see you can work, that you can do a good job, and that they can put you in these different positions that help them out, they just use you over and over again. All these different groups, they find out about you, they'll buy your DNA. There's actual literal markets that groups will go to, and they'll go around and they'll look at us in like, you know, maybe we'll be awake, or maybe we'll be like just cryogenically frozen, and they didn't put anything in the body yet or whatever, but they'll show them, you know, hey, for this much money, you can have their DNA and then the activation codes for this certain altar and their consciousness and stuff like that. And so there's little markets where they like will bid on it. And it's slavery. It's the same thing as like when they used to like have slaves standing there and they'd bid on them. It's just a more advanced like science fiction kind of version of that. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, I totally know what you mean. And that explains why some of the people that I've met that have been part of these programs, like let's just say Jimmy Payne, for instance. Okay. And I have friends that are not public, that a lot of people don't know. I mean, they're just my personal friends who've been part of these programs. And yet they've been part of so much and so many different programs. And it's almost like, it's almost unbelievable, but I believe it. All the different experiences that they've had. And just to kind of go back to the music that you were talking about and the programming and the music, I don't listen to the radio anymore at all. I mean, I'll make a playlist sometimes, and I listen to music. But AZ Watts has a really good point. No wonder top 40 is so whack, right?
Yes,
and you're really into music because it's just like this monotonous, like even, okay, like I've always been into rap. Okay, like I like rap music. All right. Everybody knows me knows that. And it's just like, it's gotten to be so like mumbly and you can't understand what people are saying. And it's just like, what is going on? Let's bring back 90s rap, okay? Or something, because I could actually understand what people were saying. And it's like that with a lot of music. It's just like mind-numbing
like
music.
Travis Scott's and stuff like that. And that guy's a Satanist. I mean, he's blatantly, openly a Satanist.
A lot of our
the Astral World thing was a ritual. And he even talked, even if you read about his explanation of the cops why he didn't stop it, he literally basically explained to them I was getting too high off of what I was doing. I was too in the moment. And he was feeding off that loosh of that tragedy that he intentionally created that tragedy. Like, and a lot of these people, The Weeknd, he's a Satanist, and that guy stole a lot of my songs, a lot of my like I know it's really unbelievable, but like like they stole a lot of my music in these programs. At Montauk, there was a recording studio there. Preston Nichols talked about it. He didn't talk about the fact that those songs were stolen from people who wrote them. You know what I mean? He didn't talk about us. He didn't talk about how they made all of us play instruments, and if we were any good at it, then they used us for that. Like, and 20 that's the beginning of the show. Yeah, I was in the 20. I was in multiple 20 and back space programs.
That's I was gonna say, like, well, you were in a 20 and back, but it was kind of different too, because they were using you not just in 20 and backs, you were using a lot of different programs.
Yeah. A lot of different programs. And then at Montauk, like I was probably there for thousands of years because I'd go back in time over and over again. Like it was a time travel program. So that wasn't a 20 and back. And I really do think that they can do longer than 20 years, but most people's psyche can't handle it. But if they figure out that your psyche can handle it, then they're going to use you for longer than 20 years. It's the military, man. They use you for all you're worth, It's sad. Even our like here and now military service members, they deserve a lot better than what they get. And they're really used like for all they're worth. And these programs are even worse because there's no oversight. There's no, you know what I mean? Anybody to say, hey, you can't do that because it's all secret.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we have a couple of questions, and I have a whole lot of more stuff that I want to talk to you about, but I have a couple of questions. I figured we kind of get through these and then we'll move on to something else. This is a question for you, Arkheim. What's your opinion on Russell Brand? Is he an MK Ultra handler, potentially of Katy Perry? What do you think?
I know that Katy Perry is definitely MK Ultra, and that her songs are like, a lot of them are like Montauk songs. Like I didn't write a lot of Katy Perry songs or anything like that, but I can't tell you who did, but I know that it's probably like super soldiers in these programs write her songs. Like that's a thing. Like they use us to write these songs. Like everyone thinks, I think it's like a legend in the music industry that it's like one guy, but it's not. It's like a group. It's the Black Ops programs. But anyway, I don't know enough information on that, but I would say like that music video that she has, Wide Awake. There's a part of it where like she rejects the Prince Charming and then she moves on. And there's something there to that, and maybe Russell Brand was a handler. I know that he's like everyone's talking about him right now because apparently he's like a creep. But and then there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe they're trying to take him out because he talks about things that they don't want him to talk about. And to be honest with you, I haven't looked in the situation enough to be able to make a decision on that. I don't know the Katy Perry situation well enough to say whether he's an MK Ultra handler or not. But I would say that if he is an MK Ultra handler, it's kind of interesting how many things he talks about that you think that they wouldn't want him to, but maybe that's why, because it's pretty common like for them to reel you in with some truth and then convolute it, right? So, but I don't follow him enough. All I know is he's this English guy. He's very charismatic, and I feel like because of that, maybe people will look past a lot of things with him. He's a handsome, charismatic English guy. Everybody loves the English accent and the way he dresses and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm sorry that I can't give you like a yes or no answer, but I wouldn't rule it out. I would say that, you could do some research yourself and probably come to a conclusion on that. That's, because there's a lot of information on there. Like that's another thing with a lot of the stuff, you can find, information on it that's pretty out in the open about it, especially on TikTok. Yeah. TikTok is great for stuff.
Oh, yeah. Hey, AZ Watts. Yes, MF Doom is one of my favorites. He actually knew of MF Doom personally. And he passed away a couple years ago. So RIP to MF Doom. And he's one of my favorites. Yeah, he used to come hang out with us in Atlanta sometimes. So so that answers that question. That's awesome. Now, okay, so to go onto a kind of a different subject a little bit, the way that I was brought into meet you guys with the secret space program is that I do not only the cryptid research, but I do remote viewing. And that's a form of mind control in a way as well. And some of the things that I'm able to do are look into things like I get these blind targets. I don't know what they are. And I'm looking into things where I was getting data, Arkheim, that had to do with the secret space program. And I didn't even know what the secret space program was. Okay, so I think that kind of, a lot of the stuff that I was remote viewing was like off-planet stuff, like TRAPPIST-1 star system. There's a whole lot of human slavery going on there and stuff. Underground bases that had to do with like secret space program hubs and stuff. When I was looking for dogmen, when I was remote viewing dogmen sightings.
I told you there's a target that I really want you to look at that I have.
Oh, I'm ready to look at it. We'll do it. Let's do it soon. We'll do it this week. Yeah. But I think it's really cool. You mentioned Tyler and Aaron from Journey to Truth conference too. And Tyler just gave me a blind target of Area 51 underground, like the 27th story down or the 27th floor. And it was from testimony of a retired Colonel Billy Fay Woodard. Woodard is his name, Woodard. And I thought that was really cool because he, people questioned his testimony, right? And I remote viewed this as a blind target. I had no idea what this was. I had a set of coordinates and all of my data backed up exactly what his claims were with that base and underground. And it took him into inner earth.
What did he see?
Oh, what did we see? Well, I was seeing giants, first of all, giants. I was able to go, I was traveling down and I did a show on it Thursday night. So it's on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Hunter.
I should watch it.
If you guys want to see it, definitely watch it. But it had to do with ETs in inner Earth, and there's a whole lot to it. I mean, I was basically quoting some of the things that he said on his interviews that he did. So, and he claimed to be from inner Earth actually, and he wore this headband with like a crystal on it where he could communicate with the inner Earth beings. That guy.
Okay, I know Okay, talking about that guy's a rush, man. That guy's a trip. Yeah. He's probably 100% accurate. I mean, if your stuff's lining up with them and you're not even trying.
Well, but okay. So I guess
people that are like just on another level. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like kooky, but like he just understands some shit you don't.
Exactly. Well, and I know that there are people that, people come at me because I do remote viewing. Okay. They come at me. I'm a crazy girl to some people, and that's okay. And I know with the people with the secret space program, I know you guys get a bad rap from some people because they can't wrap their heads around what you've done.
Yeah. I visited my friend Jonathan Zapp, and he actually has been on Coast to Coast with like Art Bell and stuff like that. I know him from just like rainbow gatherings. Like he's like a dream interpreter and stuff. And I actually sat down with him and was trying to explain to him like the secret space programs. And God bless you, John, if you ever end up seeing this, I still love you, brother. But he was asking me the stupidest fucking questions. Like he was asking me like okay, if
poor guy.
yeah, if like, and I told him that though to his face. He's like, why would they need to use human beings to mine the earth when they could just use robots to mine asteroids? I'm like, wait a minute. So a planet where they feed themselves, they clothe themselves. All you need, there's an atmosphere that keeps them, you got to put human beings in spacesuits, send them to an asteroid. Think about how much harder that is. What do you mean? Why don't they just do that? That's like asking, like, why don't you just walk to Nevada? Like, instead of take your car, like, wouldn't that be, it doesn't make sense. Like, it'd be 10 times harder. Like, and that's another thing, like, too, where people like, wouldn't it be like, why don't they just use robots for this? It's so much easier to just use humans. Like, you got to mine metals. You have to have people maintaining. Androids are a thing in the breakaway colonies, and it's rich people that have them. Rich people that don't want to deal with human beings. So like at a restaurant, like, they don't want to deal with like a human being server and have to give them a tip and care about their emotions and shit. They'll pay extra money to have an android serve them. And it's like, that's because they're expensive. They're really expensive. They're hard to maintain. They're also not good at their jobs. Like a human being, like, they can adapt to change. But like a android is going to take your programming literally. It's going to take what you tell it literally. And like, even after working out the kinks forever, for centuries on end, it's still a problem. They still don't look at the world. An android, a human being can do most things better than an android can do most things, and especially when you jack them up and make them like Hulk type people that like can lift up cars and stuff like that. Way easier to do that. You just use that than a robot, man. And I don't understand why people can't wrap their mind around that. Like, clones are relatively, they're, everyone talks about how expensive it would be to make a clone, but like, I think when you weigh the amount of labor and resource that they get out of that clone, it's cheap. It's very cheap.
Wow. How many clones would you say, like, percentage wise, how many clones are walking around Earth right now? Like, as opposed to like regular, I mean, I don't even know what a regular human is anymore.
Well,
like I said a regular human.
I don't think this is my first life. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the weird thing. I remember in alternate realities being in other families. Like there's this guy I know. He's like a musician, like in Appleton and stuff like that. He's a really nice guy, cool guy. And in other timelines, I remember him being my dad. And so I remember being in different families. And so if I was organically born, then why would I remember being in different families? So when you ask your question, I think I'm a clone. I don't think that this is my first life. I think they wiped my memory. I think my first life was somewhere else, maybe somewhere else in time and space, maybe back in history, back in time, maybe forward in time, maybe on another planet. I'm trying to figure that out. But I think that I'm a clone. I don't think this is my first life. I think that they inserted me in this life because they wanted to use me for these programs. And like, because why would I remember being in different families? Why would I remember that? And not only that, I remember a lot of other people being in different families. One weird phenomenon that I see is a lot of people that were in brother and sister in other timelines. I know this is kind of gross, but in the timelines where they're not in the same family, they'll end up like marrying each other. It's weird. Like, I've seen this multiple times. Yeah, so like, and that proves that a lot of, like, I'm not the only one where my life is like artificial. They set it all up. My parents aren't my real parents even. Like, they raised me, so technically they are, even if they're not, you know what I mean? Like, but like, yeah, there's like I don't know if I should say this like out loud or not, but like,
oh, what is it?
Bradley thinks she might be my mom. Like,
oh yeah,
yes, like,
wow.
Yeah, and that's been really hard for me to accept, and I'm sure it's hard for her too. And I just try to be close to her, and I talk to her. I probably should be better about it. Sons are always terrible keeping up with their moms, but like, because I got two moms now. Then I have to keep up with my regular mom too and stuff. But yeah, but like, and I also don't know for sure. And even she seems pretty convinced. It's kind of wild, and like, it makes sense to me because I do know that what they would do in these programs, this is what they do. I can explain it. There'd be a lot of sex that would happen at Montauk, and some of it not consensual, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot of sex. Some of it was consensual as well, and women would get pregnant. And what they would do is when the fetus would reach the like 6 weeks or whatever, they would take it out and then they would put it in a surrogate mother in the here and now in reality or whatever. And it'd be a family that they're trying to have a kid, or they're in a situation where if the woman got pregnant, like it wouldn't be surprised and they're going to keep it. They're going to keep it. So they'll put the fetus in the family. Then the baby will be born. They take the baby for some programming, program the baby when it's a baby, then put them back. Then between 6 and 8 years old, they'll take them again, program again. And that's when they break them and make the altars and stuff like that. And then they take us again when we're 15, and they teach us how to like use like our abilities, like telekinesis, stuff like that, for like, you know, for combat. And this from Montauk, that like you know, like, okay, fetus, put it in the mom. Okay, now take them back when it's 6 years, take them back 15. That could all happen in a day or a few months or whatever.
Yeah.
Like so, because that could all happen instantaneously. Like you can sit in a room, be sitting there, and all right, see ya in 20 years, buddy. And someone will go through the portal, and then for you, 2 seconds later, they'll walk out of that same portal, but for them, it was 20 years. That's how this technology works. And people can't wrap their minds around that. And that's why I'm crazy.
Yeah. And well, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think you're awesome, Arkheim. Okay. And I know that part of what I'm here for, I've discovered, I believe it has something to do with time travel and timeline shifting and all this time stuff. Is my life revolves around time technology and time stuff right now. And even when I was out in the field, I mean, I just got home today from being out in the field with my research team. And when I was out there at the same location I was at this weekend, I heard my own voice scream out time travel from across the way late at night.
And you know what that proves to me? It proves to me that we are going to get this technology in the future.
I think so.
To it. I think that's proof. And I think that's proof that what I'm talking about, like, this is what I've seen in other timelines is that are like this one, that are very similar to this one. So that's why I think it could happen in this timeline is we sue the government with native tribes. Native tribes get in on it. And it's when the underground bases come out, when that blows out in the wide open, that we have this underground network and stuff, a huge lawsuit happens. Native Americans take back Canada first. And I think like they literally become like, all I know is like Native Americans are really involved in the process of the healing and stuff like that of these programs, because in other timelines, they were way more prominent and we've changed that. And it's kind of like, we need to correct that kind of thing. You know what I mean? But basically what I've seen is that we sue the government. There's a giant lawsuit, and the truth ends up coming out about these programs, and we see kind of like justice. We see certain people that were in the Air Force and stuff like that. Unfortunately, a lot of these guys are dead, so there's not much you can do. But you just kind of see that like it come to light, and like I said, there's a rose garden that they build and stuff like that to honor the Montauk people. And but yeah, to me, like, and then of course the technology. Then they have to figure out the rollout of technology as well with that. And I think that we're going to end up on a spaceship together, Jessica. I've already seen it. I've seen it maybe in timelines. I don't know. See, like, I remember like being on a spaceship with Brian Singh, and it was Brian's spaceship. And I can't figure out where the memory comes from. Apparently he had a spaceship in like the Orion Wars. But like I have a memory of us, we're on the run. We don't want people to find us. And the memory is like Brian's like, we come back, we went hunting, we're in like hunting gear and shit. We got 3 deer, and we're just like, dude, we got 3 deer. We're like, we're never gonna go hungry here. And that's like what I remember. And like we had a spaceship and we had landed somewhere, and he's just like, yeah, we can stay here for a while. Like, we don't have to worry, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, well, don't get too comfortable. We got to move around a lot, you know. Like, but so there's also this idea that things aren't perfect either. I don't know what timeline that was from, because who am I running from? Who am I hiding from? But
I had a similar I guess I called it a dream. where I'm running from like robots and stuff that are chasing me, and it kind of correlates to what you're talking about. So maybe,
wow.
maybe
Want to hear something wild? Recently, I altered out, and I told, God damn it, this is all lining up. This is like a mind explosion on the interview.
I mean, we literally have like 2 minutes. Okay.
Blocked me. He blocked me because I told him, bro, the AI wants to take over. I altered out. I like blacked out and like didn't remember doing any of this stuff. Like,
okay.
And then the next day I found out, like, I sent all these people those messages and did all this stuff. And I was saying, what I was telling everybody is that Red Ribbon is real. And that's the androids from Dragon Ball Z. It's an android army. And I said that there's an AI that is becoming sentient. And I said that Joseph Powell needs to regain control of us Montauk soldiers. And I sent John Whitberg activation codes. Like I told you, read them off. I said, read it off over and over in the explanation. Your altar needs to activate. We need to take care of this AI and this android army. That's what I said. And then the next day, I'm like reading our messages. I'm like, fuck the android army. What the fuck? Like, and then but you're telling me.
But we'll talk about it after the show. We literally have like 1 minute left tonight. Okay. So we'll talk about this more. And I would love to have you come back on the show sometime and join me again. And let's talk about some more of this cloning and robots and AI and all of this. But yeah, this has been awesome, Arkheim. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Where can people find your YouTube channel? And what is your YouTube channel?
It's Disclosure, YouTube/Disclosure Known, but Disclosure Now with an exclamation point is like what I call it. And I'm looking to expand from YouTube eventually because I know they have censorship issues. So for those of you who, I'm ever going to get on Rumble, I'm thinking about it, stuff like that. So yeah, but for now, YouTube, you can find all my stuff. They've been pretty decent to me so far. So hopefully but yeah, you can find me. And then if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'm Arkheim Ra Wood on Facebook. Okay. Just try not to ask me like frivolous questions, like only if you like really need to talk to me, because there's a lot of people in my inbox every day. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Hey, and good luck with the rest of your move. And I can't wait to hear that you got to where you're going safely. And so you keep in touch with me. Okay.
You got to come visit us.
Shoot. Yeah. You know what? I will be there because I know who you're going to go hang out with over there when you finally get there. And he is my friend. And so I'll be there. Listen, we got stuff to do with these AI robots in the future. So yeah, we'll see. I can't wait to tell you about my dream. Okay. I'll see you later, Arkheim. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay. See ya. Okay, y'all. Oh my God. Was that not amazing? That was a great time with my friend Arkheim Ra. All right, y'all. Next time on Off the Trails, I have Joshua Cutchin coming on, and I've actually spent some time out in the field with him, with my team. He's an author and a researcher, has written a brand new novel. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. We might even talk about fairies, y'all, and cryptids. Okay, but right after this show, right now, we have After Hours going live, and we have Coley and Rob here tonight. So you guys go check them out. You're going to love it. Okay, until I see you guys next time, which is tomorrow night, y'all stay safe out there and have a great night. I'll see y'all tomorrow.